All right, what's going on, YouTube? All right, so let me start off by saying I will no longer be doing any videos on Adrian Broner. All right, I'm not gonna cover his fights. I'm not gonna cover anything. I was thinking about doing a prediction a few weeks ago, and trying to decide where I was gonna go with this fight with Omar Figueroa. And once all this stuff came out on social media again, him getting arrested recently again, we've done enough videos talking about Adrian Broner. I think the best thing to do at this point is totally ignore this guy. Let's act like he does not exist. I know the boxing media will continue to make videos on him because it gives them a lot of views. You know what I'm saying? Because he's pretty much what's wrong with the world right now. People like him, or at least in this country. All right. He is the love and hip hop of boxing. Okay. He is the reality TV show guy of boxing. All right. He's the guy that you see him in the front cover of all the tabloids, or the guy you would see, if you go in the supermarket and you see those stupid little tabloid magazines. He's the type of guy that his face will be on the cover every other week, because of the nonsense he gets himself involved in. And at this point, he needs to. I mean, I've been saying this for years now, but he needs professional help at this point. You know, um, I don't even know how anyone can actually support this guy, even the people that are around him. I think the people that are around him, either they can't control what he does, or they just giving him no input on anything, and they just want to be around him because of his fame or because of his money or whatever. All right, so no more videos on Adrian Broner. Okay, he is exactly what the opposite of what I'm going to discuss in this video. Okay, um, so you see the title, "The Real is Back in Boxing," and the reason why I made this video was because I like what's happening in boxing right now. I think the climate is changing a little bit. Okay, with all the call outs. At first it seemed like a lot of guys were kind of trying to follow what Floyd was doing without doing what Floyd had actually did in his career. You had a lot of fighters in press conferences talking about who's the A side, who's the B side. Guys with cherry picking, just doing the typical, like without really proving themselves. They were talking like they were a Floyd Mayweather, and I'm not trying to discredit Floyd when I say that. I want you to understand, Floyd has done great things. He's one of the greatest ever in his career. But what I'm saying is these newer guys, you had the guys like Danny Garcia's, the Amir Khans, even Miguel Cotto, even Canelo Alvarez, who guys that did do some, did do some work in their career, had great careers. I mean, some of them are future Hall of Famers. These guys were a little bit too commercial for me, all right, too diva-ish to me. And there was a lot of younger guys that were coming up that were following in their footsteps, okay, talking about the A side, the B side, all this stuff, right? Then you had the guys that were acting like they were best friends, bros. This is my bro. I wouldn't fight him. All this stuff. People staying close to fighters that they were kind of ducking. That was a newer form of ducking. Let's be close and act like we're best friends so we won't have to fight each other. All of that kind of stuff. All right. But now I see the climate is changing. Okay, people are calling other fighters out. They are not caring. They're not being, their feelings is not getting involved in stuff. And it's like, no, listen, you're the man at the division, and I'm calling you out. And I love it. I love it. We're getting, we've been getting better quality fights. Okay, we're getting closer and closer to more undisputed titles in other divisions, not just 140, which we had recently with Terrence Crawford. And I like it, and I just wanted to speak on it real quick. I like what I seen with Mikey Garcia. I like that he called out Errol Spence. I like that he called out Keith Thurman before. And I don't think the fight should happen, because if I'm Errol Spence, you have nothing to. It's lose-lose situation for a guy like Errol Spence or Keith Thurman, because Mikey has not fought above 140. Okay, He's barely fought at 140, you know? And for him to call Errol Spence and Keith Thurman out, the best at 147, for him to call those guys out and, what if they were to fight him? If they beat him up, it's like, well, they beat a small guy. If Mike beats them, then that's pretty embarrassing for them, you know? But I like what Mikey is doing because he wants to really challenge himself, okay? He doesn't believe that when he beat Adrian Broner, no one really gave him the credit that he deserved. I know I did, because I thought Broner looked good in that fight. I think that we got the best Broner that we can get. It's just that it wasn't enough. He's just not better than Mikey. Mikey outboxed him. Mikey didn't rough him up like Maidana did or Porter did. No, Mikey straight outboxed him. And even though Broner seemed to be the quicker fighter, it didn't really matter. He got outboxed. Okay? So I like what Mikey is doing. He wants to really challenge himself. And I think he believes that even if he were to beat anyone from 135 to 140, a lot of people are still not going to give him the recognition he deserves or he feels he deserves. He feels this way. So I don't have a problem with him calling out bigger guys saying, listen, I'll go up and fight Keith Thurman. I'll go up and fight Errol Spence. Everybody thinks they're so great. I'll go up and fight them. I have no problem with that at all. So I like what he's doing. I like what Terrence Crawford is doing. He's calling out Keith Thurman. He's calling out, Errol Spence. Nobody wants to fight Errol Spence, but Terrence Crawford is the only one that's consistently calling him out. And I like it. And I don't think Errol's afraid of him at all. I don't think any of these guys, well, I don't really know with Keith Thurman, but, I don't think neither one of them are really afraid, I think the fight will happen down the line. I think Keith Thurman is going to eventually fight one of them, if not both, It's going to happen eventually, But I like what I'm seeing. I like what I see. I like Jamal Charlo. Okay, he's another one. He moved up 160. He said, I'm not friends with Daniel Jacobs anymore. I'm at 160. I want to see him fight more people on 160. Now, I'm going to make another video on that because I saw the news. I saw the video with Dante Boxing Nation and Abel Sanchez. I saw that, and I want to speak on that in a separate video. But I'm just throwing examples out there, okay? I like what's happening in the heavyweight division. I'm hoping that this Ortiz and this Wilder fight, I hope Ortiz stays clean. And, completely clean. Like nothing that can cancel this fight. I hope this fight, I think we're a few weeks away. I hope we really get this fight, because Joshua and Parker is fighting. And Joshua and both Parker are now saying, listen, they'll fight the winner. Well, I've heard them both say they'll fight Deontay Wilder after that. I was getting a little shaky with Anthony Joshua because I remember in the Sky Sports interview a few months back, he seemed like he didn't want to fight Wilder now. He seemed like he was pushing it off for a couple of years. And, I was like, this is not the Joshua that, I've grown to like. I didn't want him to become that guy. We already know that he's the man. I know he's making the big money. He holds the most titles in the heavyweight division. But I was a little shaky, worried with that interview. But from what I've heard from him recently, he seems to be up to fight Deontay Wilder if Deontay Wilder is to win against Ortiz, which I don't think he will. But that's cool. I hope if Ortiz win, these guys are down to fight Ortiz as well. I would like to see an undisputed heavyweight champion. I would like to see that. I don't know if we're gonna get it though, but we could get it in 2018 if everything plays out right. Okay. So overall, I like what I'm seeing. I was getting scared I was getting worried for the sport because there was a lot of guys that was just on this name shit, like all the, I got a bigger name and I sell out more arenas and, and I understand that. Listen, this is a business at the end of the day. I'm not going to act like that don't matter. But it seemed like everything was about that, and I don't think, besides, I'm kind of glad that Pacquiao, Pacquiao's still in the game. Floyd is, retired, semi-retired, I don't know what's up with Floyd. But I just can't wait till those guys are gone, you know, completely, because I want these guys, the newer guys, to come in and do what they got to do, and let's move on. And I like the fact that the fans are calling out these fighters that are cherry pickers, that are just looking for an easy win over a big name, you know. I'm liking the fact, I'm digging the fact that these guys are, the fans are putting the pressure on these fighters, because we don't want to we don't want to keep dealing with this, you know, the A side, B side shit. You know, we don't want to deal with that. We just want to see the best fight the best. Some of the best in the division, you know, the hardcore fans, we know who the most dangerous people are. They might not be as popular, but we know who those people are. We know what fighters are the toughest fights. You know, we really know in our heart who are the toughest opponents. And sometimes those guys don't always have the biggest names, you know. So with that being said, I want more. I think we can still improve on this as long as we start putting our foot on the necks of these boxers, you know, on social media, on the YouTube videos, you know, on those comments. These boxers do look at the videos. They do look at the stuff they post on social media. When they see a bunch of cherries under their photos, you know, a bunch of fans calling them duckers, they read that stuff, you know, and I'm sure they get tired of it, you know, because if the general public feels that they are ducking and they're cherry pickers and they're not trying to fight the best, they hear it. You know, the media starts asking them these questions every single time they give an interview. You know, look at Keith Thurman. Every time he does an interview, they're asking him about Errol Spence. He can't even get away for those questions. You know, he doesn't seem like he likes to answer those questions. And, yo, we got to do it. We got to do it because we need to get these fights going. You know, we can't have title holders clinging on to belts and holding the belts hostage. You know, I mean, going back to Floyd, and, you know, I have to bring up Floyd. I bring up Floyd because, you know, a lot of people feel that he did this, you know, and I think at 154, not really at 147, but I think when he was holding titles at 154, you know, there were fighters like that I wanted to see him fight. I would have loved to see him fight like Erislandy Lara. I thought he would have really had to test himself in that fight, or fight with a young Demetrius Andre. You know, I would have loved to see matchups like that. I know those guys didn't have the names. You know, I know most of the public didn't want to see those fights because they didn't have the names. They had the other fighters he fought had bigger names, but we all know that Demetrius Andrade or Erislandy Lara was a tougher fight than the Cotto fight. You know, and I loved the Cotto fight. It was a great fight, and I love Miguel Cotto. But, you know, Miguel Cotto was never a match, you know, once he moved up against these younger fighters, you know, bigger fighters at 154, true 154, 160 fighters. You know what I'm saying? So I like what I'm seeing. I still think there's room for improvement overall. But I like what I'm seeing. I like what Showtime did with the upcoming fights. You know, the whole presentation, and all of them had the face-offs, and they went around the room and everybody spoke. I like what they're doing. You know, I think they need to continue with that. I think HBO needs to do something new, you know, freshen up. If they're going to still show boxing, they need to do something new. You know, ESPN is showing fights now, which is good. PBC is on a bunch of channels still. Showtime seems to they're trying to upgrade their presentation, which is cool. But I really think it's time for HBO to step it up some way. Not with fighters, I mean with like presentation or something. Something, give us something new, something different, which would be pretty cool as well. But my point in the video is just I think the real is coming back. I think guys are not here to be friends, not here to just be famous. You know, a lot of these fighters, these newer fighters, they really just want to be the best. They're not sitting here trying to cut corners and just trying to ease their way to the best. Some of them are really trying to be the best, and more of them are trying to be the best. And I'm glad, because as these older fighters go out and they retire, we want newer guys to come in and fight. Take the dangerous challenges, the fights that they didn't really have to do. You know, I want to see more of that, you know. So anyway, just wanted to make a video on that, just talking about that. Make sure you guys hit subscribe, All right, more videos are on the way. All right, I'm gonna try to bust out a few more videos today, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.